What is it?
Well, it's called Randomiser, and it's fitted to the guidance systems and operates under a very complex scientific principle called potluck. Now, no one knows where we're going. Not even the Black Guardian.
Not even us.
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Randomiser Podcast. I am Tim.
And I am Chaz. Wow, 22. It's a bit like 20s, you know, you're excited. 21, it's amazing. 22, everybody forgets about it. It's like the red-headed stepchild of podcast episodes.
And there I was thinking there weren't any 22 jokes to make.
There you go.
Well done. You never disappoint. Never fail to disappoint. Or something. Well, we've just watched Flux Chapter 3 twice because we needed to. What a lot going on. Definitely needed the rewatch. I mean, my first note is, Diane, yay!
Alright, you smart ass. You're a bloody prophet, you Nostradamus. Horse thief.
There was just something prisony about Passenger.
No, I mean, absolutely. It makes perfect sense. And I think we did discuss last week Passenger, so it could be, you know. So, yeah, well done. Okay.
Either had to be Diane or Iggy Pop coming out of there. You said it's a TARDIS. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, the same millions, so it's obviously bigger on the inside.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something there.
Iggy Pop's been in films. Don't really
Iggy Pop's been in Deep Space Nine.
What?
You don't
Have
remember
I not seen that one yet?
Magnificent Ferengi, where all the Ferengi get together to go and rescue.
I've literally just watched that. Who is he?
He's the Vorta that they kidnap at the end. That's Iggy Pop.
Oh, no way. I've got to rewatch it now.
Yeah. Sorry, we're completely diversing.
This is the Deep Space Nine podcast.
And you're the Avery Brooks fan.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started. Not a fan of Cisco, I'm afraid. But, no, yes, it's obvious in retrospect now, but the Vorta makeup's really good, isn't it?
But that is a great episode, because the Vorta they go to trade is such a prick.
He's so downbeat, isn't he?
Yeah. He's like, oh, well, I'm just going to die.
Yeah,
and then
spoilers.
They pick up Iggy Pop, and he's even just...
So spoiler warning for every episode of Doctor Who up and including Flux Chapter 3, but also for Deep Space Nine.
That's like one Deep Space Nine episode.
Oh, God, we've tangented ourselves.
Yeah, you go. See, it's
already.
Impossible to stick to notes.
I can try. Yeah. So, back to my notes. I loved Belle. I liked her story. I liked the actor. I liked the performance. I didn't see it being her and Vinder coming, which I probably should have in the end. Especially when he records a message to a lost loved one and she's looking for a lost loved one.
I did like Belle. I thought she was fun. I also thought it was rather amusing that her and Vinder have given birth to a Tamagotchi.
I guess it's like a spacey baby monitor, isn't it?
It's basically a Tamagotchi, though, because there's even little smiley bits. And
the white plastic, and it's called... What's it called? Tag Me.
Taigio or...
Oh, no, it's something like Tag Me or Tig Me.
In other words... Tigamy, we haven't got
the rights.
We haven't got the rights to use the word Tamagotchi.
Oh dear. But yeah, and Daleks, woo! That was a surprise.
Yeah, not bad. And
floating as well, no less.
Yeah, Suntans.
Yep. So Vinder and Belle have fought Daleks, gets mentioned.
Yep.
And Vinder's heard of a TARDIS.
And we had Suntans. We had Suntans get a mention. We saw Cybermen who still can't shoot straight, and it seems that it would seem that stormtroopers are teaching everybody to fucking shoot in this universe.
Do you think it was Sontarans chasing Dan through the tunnels unseen?
It could be. Who knows? I just like the fact that this bloke keeps turning up.
Oh, sideburns.
I'm actually starting to hope now that he's in every episode of Doctor Who, and I don't just mean Flux. I want him turning up, spouting madness, and sort of just disappearing.
He's a bit Son of Pickwick from I think it was the Sontaran gun he was wielding as well. So we thought the time mites, the blue dots, were sort of this week's poor effect, maybe.
I mean, when you consider the Ravagers of ravaging or ravishing effect, it looks more naturalistic, whereas this looks like a a really cheap sort of BBC swirly effect.
Wouldn't have been out of place in the classic series.
Yeah, I
That's
was
quite
thinking
harsh.
of Sylvester McCoy's shows or
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
It does sort of look. It's like all one colour mostly,
Yeah.
just that same shade
It's
of blue. It doesn't have any
annoyingly-
depth.
But it's just so annoyingly cheap.
It's weird.
And that's why it stands out, but whatever.
I do just wonder if we're seeing where the money ran out. It was better in the temple scene. It was just in the its previous
the
appearances.
outside and yeah.
Yeah, for some reason.
I would have to say this episode, I certainly didn't dislike it, but it was no way as good as last week's. But there was a lot to unpack
Yeah.
in this episode, and I would say this is the episode where you're going to lose people.
Especially people who haven't seen Fugitive and Time of Children.
Whereas this, this is like, fans will definitely stick with this one because it'll intrigue them more. But this is where you're going to lose the not we or the normies or whatever you
Yeah,
might
but we don't
call
care
us.
about them. No, I mean, I loved seeing Joe Martin. That was such a lovely reveal in the mirror. I would have liked it if it stuck with her rather than continually flip-flopping back and forth.
But again, as I said to you, I know you and I got that, but when we were watching it, we were watching it with Connor's girlfriend, and apart from the fact that I don't think she was interested in the way, I don't think she was really taking it in, and I think that that's going to be the case with a lot of people. People that are not, say, that invested in it are just going to be, what?
It's certainly a full-on
Yeah.
confusing episode to come to if you
Yeah.
hadn't been paying attention last season. But I think the flip-flopping wasn't just to help sell This Is All the Doctor. I mean, I think you get that verbally as well.
Yeah, no, I
and
get
it was
it.
a shame. It's like they just won't let Joe Martin kind of have a whole chunk of stuff to herself. It would be lovely.
I suppose.
Maybe she fluffs her lines if she's got more than two.
It could be.
If she is a pre-Hartnell Doctor, then imagine what the fluffs were like even before Billy.
Fucking hell. Yeah, imagine. I did like a lot of it. I thought it was very clever. I got it pretty quickly, what they were obviously doing with it. I didn't necessarily get what is going on within each time stream, but I'm sure that's a slow reveal anyway.
I'm not sure. I think it's just the ultimate sort of blank check as a writer that time's a mess. You can write whatever the hell you like.
In some ways, but obviously the Doctor stuff is going to be important eventually.
I did think Jodie's losing the plot a bit in terms
Yeah.
of being so desperate to get back in there and kind of losing the perspective that
Absolutely.
the Doctor needs. But no, the disorientation, the deliberate disorientation, I liked that all jumping about in Liverpool with Dan and Diane.
Oh, that was great. I genuinely think we're got something going on here with different dimensions of the universes or something, because this universe is dying now. You can't kill our universe off, Prime Universe, because if Doctor Who is saying, it's going to be a bit weird where whole thing is set in a completely different universe. So
I think there'll be a reset or something.
well, probably. That sort of woman at the end says Ravager's been reintroduced and they're useful, and I just get the feeling that we're somewhere where this is not normal. The planet Time exists, all this. I don't necessarily think we're in our own universe. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, I'll happily take that and see where we go with it. But that's kind of the way it's looking at the moment. It's very difficult to work out, and that's not a bad thing.
But Joe Martin has a line about they're not allowed in this dimension about passengers. But
Yeah.
that's dimension, and there's universe, there's
universe,
dimension.
a sort
Dimension.
of alternate universe, alternate dimension. I mean,
Yeah, so I liked the Big Murray. You didn't.
oh god, I think it was the only thing in the episode that I just thought, that doesn't look right. To me, it sort of reminded me, when you saw Jodie in the Big Murray, it sort of reminded me of a 70s prog rock album cover, like Exodus, track 1, Victim of the Flux, or, something like that.
You should write that album.
Yeah, we really, really should, It's like, it just honestly, that's sort of the way it looked like, it just reminded one of those hideous 70s album covers.
That I loved and grew up with. I assure you, dear listener, that our musical talent is equal only to our incisive reviewing skills. So
It's the sort of crap that Marillion would come
Hey!
up with. I knew I'd
fighting
get you
talk.
on that one.
right, you. So temporal hazing was a nice little MacGuffin to explain why the Doctor was so disoriented in all the division scenes.
yeah.
I thought temporal hazing was what would happen in Freshers' Week at the Time Lord Academy.
Ah, very good. I see what you did there. It's sort of like that a perception filter. You know, it's one of those great MacGuffin-y lines, like you say. You know.
Yeah, that was, I mean, fair enough. He needed something, and it sold this scenario very well. I thought that they all know what's going on, the Doctor doesn't. So that's a nice reversal.
It did have a bit of a Stephen Moffat vibe going on, more so than, say, anything that Chips has done before, because you kind of got a bit of obvious timey-wimey stuff going on. And yeah, that was quite good. I mean, we had some great little bits. I absolutely loved the bit with Yaz, in the police car, and Jodie as her partner doing the whole thing about Satsumas.
Yeah.
Because it was just such a random little bit, and then, the angel appearing in the mirror. I mean, that was rather... It wasn't subtle in terms of seeding it for the next episode, but it still was very, very good.
Yeah, and the Angels have the PlayStation.
That was great. I loved the line at the end when she smashed up the PlayStation. Don't you ever want me to get a boyfriend?
But yeah. What else was going on? Who'd have thought a guy called the Grand Serpent would be a baddie?
I was shocked.
Okay, what a twist.
And it was Craig Parkinson, and he's so not known for playing villains or snide characters in any way, shape or form.
Any Mara vibes from his jacket?
Fuck off with the Mara vibes.
Come on, if I can't have the Garm, give me the Mara.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Fucking Mara.
So
I'll tell you something, I'm slagging it off now.
Yeah,
See if
yeah.
it turns out to be true. I'm having you burnt at the stake.
that's what you like, yeah. So, Frey Sampor is a very George Lucas name, I thought, his arch enemy.
And we did sort of point out that thing where he was, Vinder was getting hauled over the coals for having no evidence.
Oh, yeah.
But there is the bit where he asks him to turn the
Turn off the
recording
recorder.
off. You know?
I know, can you imagine that in court?
No,
I've
please.
got one condition, turn off the recording. Click. Yeah, that's something at least.
Yeah.
Nobody ever does that.
It's really just establishing why Vinder was on the space station.
Oh yeah,
or whatever,
but it sets
you know.
him up as very heroic and true to his principles
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah.
I mean, for all we know, the Grand Serpent could be dust now after the Flux.
Yeah, well, it would appear that mostly everybody is, but,
Yeah.
well, who knows?
Oh, that's why they left Finder stomping around in the ashes of his home planet.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we had the wonderful Barbara Flynn as what? What do you think
she was rather good. She could actually be Tectune, but she could also be the Doctor, which does seem pretty likely, but I don't know.
I mean, maybe sort of this cosmic gardener kind of tending to various
She's
strange...
Boothby.
Boothby. Oh yes, from
We're going to next gen now. When you mentioned it was Barbara Flynn, immediately I went to the Inquisitor.
right.
But that was Linda Bellingham.
Yes.
So it was like, fuck.
Now this is Cracker's Miss.
Yeah, Cracker's wife.
I was thinking maybe White Guardian.
Yeah, it's possible.
But the talking of like reintroducing the Ravagers is the language of kind of species management, animal husbandry.
Yeah. It could be. I mean, it's like that bit at the start of Rebus where he sort of says there comes a time, blah, 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 to stop everything. And it's
rebalance.
like they're sort of bringing balance. So introducing the Ravagers is a case of maybe introducing a bit of chaos.
And strong vibes that the Flux was either caused by the Doctor or in a bit of victim blaming set off after the Doctor, therefore it's all their fault. We'll see if that one's got to pan out somehow. It's far too portentous not to go anywhere.
Yeah,
Famous last
definitely.
words. So what else? I noticed Swarm and Co. disappear with the same effect as they kill with, so is it killing? Maybe it's like teleporting or whatever.
There is in Loki, the Disney Plus series, spoilers for anybody who's about to watch Loki.
I haven't seen it.
I did say that there is a point where they use their thing to take someone, dematerialize them, or wipe them from time, but it turns out that they're actually not being wiped. They're being sent to this planet or something where they can't escape from. So could be.
Oh, it's been done in Doctor Who as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it a Missy thing? Or?
Oh yeah, well, that was really just rigging a transporter or something.
A mention of the Dark Times?
Yeah, that was. I did pick up on that. That was quite interesting.
Are we folding the Division sort of times into the Dark Times, I wonder?
Possibly, because, this is the time of Rassilon, Omega, because Division is established as a Gallifreyan thing.
Yeah, though Carbonista's a Division member, and as played by Dan this week.
Don't you mean Carbonista?
Oh yes, the pasta version.
Yeah.
All through last week I sat and just
yes, I know.
It's quite fun having the regulars actually get to play all these multiple roles as well.
Yeah, as I say, give them a bit of variety in it.
Yeah. At last they're getting lots to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It saves on the guest cast costs as well. So when Yaz was basically being Vinder's boss...
Yeah, the guy got one line,
got one line.
Yeah, obviously Yaz's sister got a couple of lines.
But the very silent guests of the Grand Serpent just are sitting there kind of going, yep, we're not saying nothing.
Yeah, I like the thing at the start where you actually get to hear the Doctor thinking away at the problem, because I do like that. Stephen Moffat done it a couple of times, like in 11th Hour, you see the Doctor's thought process of
slow down
noticing everybody. Yeah. And
I did think the second time that this is just the Doctor not listening to the baddie droning on.
It's great. But it does show you why the Doctor's the cleverest person, and I think sometimes it's sort of, it needs to be reasserted. This isn't just some random loopy nutcase. This is, she's actually in charge.
Sometimes. I don't know.
Sometimes.
I think you've got to keep a bit of ambiguity to that to keep it
yeah, but, you've also got to establish, she doesn't just win the fight because she's very, very lucky.
Yeah. I do like that line about leap in the net will appear. Although I tried to look up who the person was that's supposed to have said that, and all I could find was a basketball player or a baseball player.
I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
I would have thought it would be somebody like a trapeze artist or something. They don't tend to leap.
Well, maybe that probably wouldn't exist, because after there's no net, they probably didn't survive.
Yeah. The full quote is leap in the net will be there, and could somebody call an ambulance, please?
Yeah.
I think that it was nice to have episode 2 with a bit more narrow focus, because this one's back to that bombardment of hundreds of things happening at once that episode 1 had, and definitely couldn't have done 3 episodes of that on the trot and had any brain left.
Yeah.
It looks like next week with the Village of the Angels is going to narrow the focus down again.
Yeah, it does look a little bit more straightforward. It does actually give me a vibe of Hyde.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the Capaldi one?
Is that the period setting, though?
Yeah, because the one with Dougray Scott, and it's like the Sapphire and Steely
and Verity
Ghost.
Lambert.
Yeah, exactly. And this has got a similar vibe to it. I'm sure it's like nothing like it, but it does sort of give you that.
Same costumes, if nothing else.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to sort of hopefully win back a few viewers next week with that one.
Yeah, I think you're bang on about any casual viewers are going to be like, what's all of this? Who's that lady in the mirror? And it just needed maybe a little kind of, even a flashback. That's not unprecedented in these times at all, is it?
Yeah, but it's like you said about the flashback. If you'd have done the flashback, you'd have spoiled that Joe Martin was appearing. I must admit, when she did appear, it was like, oh.
I was very happy, but that would be the point for it. It would be a quick kind of info dump. Would have been useful for the casual viewer, I think. I've only watched Fugitive of the Judoon once, and I've only watched Timeless Children once, so, I'm sketchy on a lot of those details. I'm still loving it, though, overall. Looking forward to next week.
It's the best it's been this era. It's intriguing. It's fascinating. I don't expect every episode to be an absolute classic, but it is one story. So we're going to need something to maybe that'll slow the pace a bit sometimes.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me, because what I'm enjoying is I'm enjoying the vibe throughout the whole thing. I think it's clever. it's engaging, and it is making me think. It's also making me look forward to it. Connor said that this morning. He said, isn't it great to actually, like, be looking forward to watching Doctor?
Yeah, that's lovely.
You know, which I did say when we started watching it. I said, well, the only thing is that it puts pressure on each episode even more, because if it is crap, it's going to be, you've got me this far and disappointed me. How
Say
dare
that for
you?
episode 6.
Yeah. But no, as I say, I don't think it was as good as last week, but that's only because last week was just so damn perfect. This week, it's a little bit more sort of involved in that sort of the same way as sort of episode 1 was, but it's not detracting me in any way. I'm still enjoying it.
Do you think that's all we'll see of the Cybermen in this?
Probably. I think
shame.
really the likes of the Daleks and the Cybermen, I think it's just a case of add a bit of colour. Having them appear in the background adds sort of depth and sense that you're in a bigger universe, because, you know, you've got these creatures. They don't need to necessarily always be the focus, but they're building their own empires, as it were.
Yeah. All right, well, let's see what Chapter 4 brings. So we've got a title for 4, which is Village of the Angels. We've got a title for 5, which is Survivors.
Survivors of the Flux, which actually did get name-checked, I think, tonight.
Wonder if this could reunite Bell and Vinder then.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. And we're holding out for the Tarnwood Beast for episode 6,
Absolutely.
Chapter 6.
The Tamagotchi's going to turn out to be the Tarnwood Beast. I think she's going to forget it, put it in a toy box and rediscover it 10 years later and then put it on eBay. You know.
A man is the sum of his memories, you know, a Time Lord even more so.
So it's time for your Cheatin Memory, and this is the part of the show where we have rewatched an old episode randomly selected for us by the randomiser.net, the wonderful website that will generate a story. So we watched The Ark, some William Hartnell at last. And
that was fun.
I thought it looked really good on BritBox.
It did, actually.
Yeah, even blown up on your overcompensating for something sized TV.
Yes, as you know, my eyesight is failing.
It's your eyesight you're compensating
my
for?
eyesight, yeah. But of course, that is a really sort of poor excuse for buying a 75-inch television. But God, does it look good.
Any more, you're going to need a bigger house.
Yeah, gonna need a bigger boat.
But yeah, no, there's clearly a really ambitious and generally well exercised sort of sense of scale. I love the designs generally.
Yeah.
Within the studio sets, you know, they've got this jungle, a very populated jungle.
Yep.
There's, as we said, an elephant. There's also, I'm sure I saw like a lizard. I'm sure I saw some sort of bird of prey. I think there were some kestrel maneuvers in the Ark.
Orchestral maneuvers and oh, fuck off. You have been bloody saving that one up. I am not going to allow you to have that one kestrel maneuvers. God, yeah.
And even the spaceship areas still had a kind of a good sense of scale to them. But I think this was at the expanse of meeting the characters and getting some close-ups and getting the kind of nuance of their performances. There were so many of those scenes in part 1 that were in wide shot and you know, with kind of quite important dialogue going on, and I think it suffered from that.
It wasn't up to the ambition of the set. You know, the way the whole thing had been put together looked rather lovely, but the director just really wasn't up to sort of conveying the message as well.
I just missed so much of the actors in a funny way, although I didn't rate them very much, most of them anyway. No, the guest cast I found a bit erratic, like the old man who's the boss of the Ark seemed sort of randomly to burst out laughing, and it was sort of, I don't know, kind of overblown geniality wore a bit thin pretty quickly. God, and then the kind of younger antagonist guy, he sort of goes straight into rabble-rousing mode.
Yeah, he's literally burning torches.
Maybe this is the sort of suffering of having to squeeze it all into 2 parts for the 2 halves of the story, because they don't have much time to build any sort of character.
No, I suppose that's true. You've got what the young guy at the start who gets shrunk, and the girl that really liked him, but she'll have to wait what, 700
700
years or something. So.
Like, what's that line in Hitchhikers? No, it's Red Dwarf about the age difference would be insurmountable.
Yeah.
No, I like the miniaturization. In fact, it sort of looked like a magic cabinet. I would have thought they'd stick a few swords through first or something.
It was very generic Doctor Who. I liked it more, say, because I haven't seen it in years. You've obviously seen it more recently than I have.
Only the once, though.
Yeah, true. And I really, really like Bill Hartnell in this. He's having so much bloody fun. You know?
It's sort of not many fluffs.
No,
just
he
generally
really seems to be enjoying himself.
chuckling away. I think it's interesting because it's the first proper Dodo story, so they're sort of establishing that dynamic, which I think it's quite sort of, it's a bit patronising towards her, but then Dodo's just strange as a character.
Yeah.
Don't know what's happening with her accent.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, but she's perky, she's gung-ho, which is fun, and Stephen's sort of goes straight into sort of paternal big brother mode, which is a bit irritating by comparison.
I think with Dodo, really, I mean, every young female companion has been a replacement for Susan. So she's another Susan replacement, although I would say she's actually got a bit more personality than Susan in some ways. But yeah, I mean, the accent's a bit of a weird one, but we can put that down to, you got a cold. My nose is all bummed up.
You think this is all a side effect of the cold?
Yeah, that's why she suddenly sounds northern and then Cockney.
Yeah, because that always happens when you...
Haven't you noticed?
Oh, jeez. Oh, the security kitchen. What possessed them?
A fucking security, I love it.
I mean...
What the fuck?
I kind of love it in the same way I love No Complications.
Yeah, maybe it's like Gorman Gas, Schwelter's kitchen.
We were trying to think of other kitchens in Doctor Who, and there's one in Enemy of the World. There's a kitchen scene, two doctors.
And the two doctors,
Yeah, must be other ones. But, I mean, it'd be one thing if they just happened to lock him in the kitchen. I think they would have got away with that, but they explicitly refer to it as the security kitchen.
Unicorn and the Wasp.
Oh, yes, of course, with the search for the vinegar or whatever it is. Yeah,
walnuts, whatever. It's fucking bizarre, isn't it?
I just love it. It's just...
I love the monoids.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the one where the monoid's trying to lie to the guy and he goes,
That was another sort of No Complications bit. Obviously, they only come into their own in the third and fourth episode, but there's quite a nice sort of attempt to make a sign language for them before that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I was absolutely convinced that the chief monoid, as it were, is voiced by Roy Skelton.
He was certainly involved.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not he definitely, but just see, because it seems like he's using his zippy voice.
Jeffrey.
It is. The monoids are brilliant. I really want them to bring them back. Now, what I want them to do with them is have them as... if you have a race that's been enslaved, the monoids have broken their slavery, so they come and help other races in a sort of a union. They organise unions.
The first tip is don't argue amongst yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you're out of earshot.
Just print up a number 1 on your sash and you can seize the reins of power. You can sort of play monoid bingo towards the end. There's a sort of smattering of higher numbers. It's like dead on the ground, 77.
I also thought that the Guardians and the Earth people were refusing to see their situation.
You cannot take anything away from my kestrel pun after that.
Well, I just thought I would make you know how it feels.
Okay. I want to apologise to you. I want to apologise to the Academy. Anyway.
You've embarrassed yourself, you've embarrassed me, and you've embarrassed the actress Nicola Walker from The Last Train.
Blimey. I thought the head Refusian, or the only Refusian we hear, was Valentine Dial. I was convinced, but it's somebody called Roy Spencer.
Yeah.
Who turns up later in The Gunfighters.
Oh, yeah.
As Bat Masterston.
Yeah.
Which sounds like it should be a Spinnerism.
I kind of love the Refusions. It's so silly.
We are incorporeal, but we'll move chairs around anyway. It's all quite effective effects.
It's a bit like the Leisure Hive, Oh, did someone mention Phobias?
Yeah, and the Doctor, Bill Hartnell's having such fun making, no, we haven't seen them. It's got at least 2 of them.
And also, I love the way the Refusions have set up the planet for the Earthlings. So it's like, they've got little curtains.
It's quite clever, because you're all set to, I think we were indeed beginning to mock the absurdity of this alien planet that looked like a drawing room. And then they say, no, we've set it up for you, how you like it.
It reminded me of a little bit of early Star Trek, like The Cage or Charlie X, where the aliens make it as comfortable as possible for the humanoid to live there.
We haven't seen the bit about the Refusion breeding program, and you'd never know they were watching.
See, when they open the curtains, you're going to find you're behind a glass wall, and it's going to say Earthlings in their native habitat. Basically a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, good fun. There was some lovely ambition with this sort of scale of the shots, and then sort of counterbalanced by, I think, a lack of good kind of character drama or getting into the faces of the actors in establishing them. But also, totally Game of Two Halves, of course, because you've got to squeeze everything into two-parters.
I mean, the one standout humanoid, I suppose, was the actress in the sort of
in the second half,
the second half of it, as it were. She seemed to be like a Barbara sort of type,
the voice of reason a bit.
Yeah, and she was really good actually, and it did seem that her and Stephen had a little bit of a frisson going on, but as always in these things, she went back to the boring
guy in the tassel curtain.
Yeah,
those costumes were quite something.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, Michael Sheard popped up in the first half.
In our Michael Sheard watch that you suggested as a new feature.
It's going to be a short feature, but it's could take a while for all those episodes to come up. Yeah, but that was his first.
Yep.
That was the arc. It is time to choose another one.
Look, when I give the word, press the button. The big one? Yes, maybe it works in conjunction with the others.
What would be worse, a telesnap or a Matt Smith?
No, it'd always be a telesnap, trust me.
All right, here goes.
All right, well, let's try and find out. Now, what could it be?
We've had our first repeat, so it's Rings Vakuten, which we have watched, so I will do another one. Here we go. Oh, okay. Doctor Who, the movie.
Really?
Yeah, Paul McGann.
Oh my God. Wow.
Excellent.
I mean, out of all Doctor Who stories, we get one story that Paul McGann appears in.
Yeah, well, it's going to really bump up our watching the 8th Doctor era statistics.
Yeah, wow, we've completed them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Night of the Doctor, if you want to be...
I'm not sure if that's in the randomizer, it being a sort of side episode, but we've talked about it when we talked about Paul McGann, of course.
Obviously.
I haven't watched it for ages.
I've got it on Blu-ray, so...
Cool, let's do that.
Watch that. I mean, there's a couple of really nice bits in it. Obviously, everybody talks about when he's, the shoes fit. But I love the bit where he confronts the cop on the motorcycle.
And threatens to shoot himself.
He threatens to shoot himself,
yeah, so
offers him his jelly baby, but the cop drives into the darkness, which I thought was a lovely little moment.
That's such fun.
It's really nice that they had Sylvester McCoy and all that, but we start with a regeneration, which was a bad idea probably. If you've never seen it before, the whole thing is practically an info dump.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't mean it's not entertaining, but it really is not a good way to introduce people to Doctor Who.
In terms of bringing it in as a series.
Big Finish have done amazing work with Paul McGann. I think he's probably the Doctor I've listened to more, because I haven't listened to a massive amount of Big Finish, but I've recently listened to the first few Strandeds.
Where are they?
TARDIS is sort of stranded in modern day Earth, and it's sort of repairing itself.
Okay.
So it starts off, it won't move, then it'll only move in time but not space.
Oh.
But Paul McGann, I think, is the one thing they got 100% right is Paul McGann. He is brilliant as a Doctor. He's brilliant in this, and he's brilliant in audio. He is very good.
So, Doctor Who the movie, we will report back next time. Time.
All these corridors look the same to me.
It's time for Which Corridor Is This? This has been inspired by Toby Haydock and Rob Sherman's book Running Through Corridors, where they talk about every Doctor Who episode, at least in the 60s and 70s, desperately hoping they'll write one for the 80s before the heat death of the universe. Come on, guys. But I have been rewatching Doctor Who, and I've reached the Power of Kroll, which is, despite its reputation, I really quite enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was quite big stakes.
Or calamari, even.
Right, yeah. The monster at the end of part one, a dodgy monster in a suit, turns out to be just a man in a suit, which I thought was a really nice touch. And actually, Kroll itself is not too bad. It just suffers from having a very sort of flat, horizontal split screen whenever the puppet appears, but I quite like the puppet. I thought the design was good, and those tentacle effects are scary. You know, the bit where it bursts through the pipe and just grabs somebody and they're gone is really scary.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit like Fury from the Deep in some ways.
Yeah, strange creatures in the pipes. And guest cast, we've got John Leeson, lovely John Leeson, Glyn Owen, Philip Maddock.
I was going to say, I was pretty sure Philip Maddock
Yeah,
was in it.
I love his performances. He's always interesting to watch.
Really good.
He always plays his lines in a sort of non-obvious way.
In a very slow, his delivery is dripping. It's always very menacing.
Well, he'll go quiet sometimes where you would expect somebody else to shout a line, and that just gives him so much more power.
I always think if they put him in a cast, I think, oh, good.
Yeah. Is he in any of our Box of Delights stuff? Because I'd love to see him in other stuff, actually.
God, I can't even remember what's in
What's in
Box
there.
of Delights, to be honest. He probably is,
Well, we'll look forward to
probably
that.
is.
Their monitors in the base, I thought it was a really interesting effect. I'd love to know how they did it, but they have a kind of like oscilloscope kind of line thing which shows the outline of Kroll, but it does look for a while like they're just looking at the cover of Joy Division albums. But no, it's a good physical effect, and obviously a little more interesting than just seeing a picture of the model.
Yeah.
So Romana pretty much disempowered throughout, which is a shame. I mean, she's nicely arch when being captured by Rom Dutt, but otherwise she's very much just sort of tied up to be rescued. Rankin is the chief Swampy. It's a well-written sort of flip-flopping of the religious mindset, and he's desperately adapting his beliefs to the evidence as they go, and reduced to sitting on his knees and muttering by the end before Kroll tentacles him away. Thawne, who's the kind of lead of the guys mining the planet, he has this really gory death. I was quite shocked. It's big spike through the chest from nowhere.
Essentially, everybody in it is basically just playing a Squid Game.
Hey.
So
Nice.
I
Very
had
good.
to. That one was good.
I really liked the sort of model of their mining rig and the Kroll puppet. It looks like it's going to splinter into matchwood at any moment, but I just like that stuff.
I think it's because it's tangible.
Yeah.
That's what makes it special.
But yeah, there's a few little gems in there. You will learn the Doctor is nearly 760.
Oh, God. But his actual age has moved up from 750.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
But just in that season alone.
Did you notice how long he was 750 for? And then he seemed to jump to about 900 when he was McCoy.
Well, it's like you got to continually sort of top yourself in terms of the outrageous age stakes. Moffat was like, right, nobody's beaten that one, damn it. Yeah.
I think when RTD comes back, he'll have lived as long as the universe.
Not much more to say about it, really. I thought the sort of tightening on the rack with the vines was quite gruesome, but also, very clever, if slightly unconvincing sound of the Doctor shrieking at the right note to break the glass.
Yeah.
And then the rain coming in, which is that's good fun.
Suppose that would have been more convincing if it had been Romana or something, maybe.
Yeah, well, you'd think Romana would have the higher pitched voice, but the Doctor's the hero, so...
Of course.
And then, Rom Dutt just, unceremoniously eaten, but he made the cardinal error of not doing what the Doctor told him in a crisis. So they leave at the end, and Fenner, Philip Maddock, is the only one surviving. But as the Doctor and Romana walk out, they're sort of like, bye then, and the Swampies just start to circle him, giving him distinctly menacing looks. I think he's not... he's going to have to talk fast.
Yeah.
The last thing I really wanted to talk about was those titles, because we talked last week with the Leisure Hive about the 80s titles, but this was the Time Tunnel slit scan titles and the diamond logo. And although I love the 80s theme and grew up with it mostly, this one is my favourite, looking at the whole history of the programme, because of the sheer timeless beauty of that slit scan title sequence, and gosh, how it was made. It's a brilliant video out there of showing, I think it's Bernard Lodge showing how he made it. But one more on that title sequence is, have you spotted the hidden Sontaran?
Yes, I've heard of that, actually.
In the top
I
left.
have seen it. It took me a while to find it, but yes, it is there.
I mean, it's absolute pareidoia. It's not deliberate, but there's a sort of Sontaran head-shaped thing that goes past in the top left every so often. And of course, the first use of those titles was the Time Warrior.
That's true. That's true. It's interesting as well because that is the most diversion from the original Doctor Who titles, I would say, that we've done, because we've all had slight variations on Hartnell. Even Pertwee is a sort of slight variation.
Well, it's still Howlround.
This is the first time it's went really something new, something that hadn't been tried.
Yeah.
I have absolute love for the Davison Colin Baker titles, and the Sylvester McCoy titles also exist.
Yes. Anything else you want to add about Power of Kroll, or are you just happy to have made your Squid Game joke?
Yeah, I'm really pleased to have made the Squid Game joke, to be perfectly honest.
So you still challenge me, young man?
So it is challenge time. I have asked Chaz to watch The Mutants, which is a story he's never managed to sit through in the past, and then hope for a challenge of my own. So tell me, my friend, how did you get on?
It was interesting. Obviously, this week I go to order The Mutants and wait for Amazon, get a knock at the door, think, great, Amazon's arrived. Open the door, and it's this guy in a suit at the door, and I'm going, hello? He goes, hello, I'm Tim Davey. And I goes, who? He goes, Director General of the BBC. What it is, our copies of The Mutants are selling out constantly. We're having great difficulty making more and more copies of this DVD. We have one person that seems to be ordering it constantly, which means that other consumers can't have the fun of watching The Mutants. So I'm here to tell you that we are cutting you off at the source. And I went, does this mean I can't order copies of The Mutants anymore? He said, that's exactly what it means, young man. So I'm here to tell you that your Amazon order has been cancelled, courtesy of the BBC, who I am Director General of, and not some bloke you've made up. I can't go against the law, obviously.
You've got to protect the BBC.
Well, yeah, they've made me cancel my BritBox subscription as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, no, I was going to say, blimey, well, nothing much else for it, really. Apart from, I'll give you mine for next week.
Yeah.
Good. And if that pound shop Michael Grade comes back, tell him to go and sling it.
Okay.
Alrighty.
What will you do with your monster when you've got it?
Well, it's time for Monster by Monster, where we randomly select monsters and say things about them. So, I'm going to generate a random monster.
Jesus.
Let's see what we get this time. It is number 67.
The Mutants.
It's the Rutan.
Oh,
I feel sorry for them. They're not getting a look in. The Suntarns are having all the fun at the moment.
it is a bit pish, isn't it? They get mentioned quite a lot, and yet they only get one bloody appearance, And to be fair, their one appearance is a damn good appearance.
Yeah.
And I just don't know why they don't get used.
They could definitely do a good effect to them. Is there a copyright issue?
It shouldn't be. It's only a green bloody blob.
Well, no more in the name of the race. So whoever wrote Horrifying Rock, were they mentioned from the get-go in the Time Warrior? So.
Yeah, Pertwee just says, "Oh, how's your war with the Rutan?" And that was Robert Holmes. So we can use the Suntarns. So I don't really see.
Oh no, you think they chuck the
why.
Rutans in for free, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Rutans and
Yeah,
yeah.
but no, it's Horrifying Rock's such a good story.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's it can live in glory once, and that's that.
I suppose. I mean, there's no great need for them to reappear, but it would be nice. It would actually be nice to see Suntarns battle the Rutans.
I know, they've never seen it.
Just for the bloody hell of it, and just to see how it would go.
I mean, it'd be interesting to consider, because the Rutan tactics in Horrifying Rock is like impersonation.
Yeah.
That's very different from a kind of enormous clone army, so... it'd just be fascinating to see how that conflict would actually work.
Because, it's like... God, we're going to go back to DS9. It's like changelings in DS9. They can infiltrate the ranks. So, you could have Rutans pretend to be Suntarans, and.
So let's do another monster. 251. The Siberium. So
Oh, yeah.
kind of sum total of all cyber knowledge kind of thing.
I think that was an interesting concept.
From Villa Deodorati.
Nice idea, sort of sum total of cyber knowledge, etc. It's a bit like the Dalek hive mind.
Let's do another
worked well.
monster, so we get a more monstrous one. 40. 40 is the Ogrons. No complications.
Yeah, you just stole my line.
You're the one who pointed that
I
out
know,
to me.
it's
And I love
great
it.
though, isn't it? I mean, it's the Ogron's best moment.
I'm properly
it really
outraged that they fixed it in the special edition.
Well, that's why whenever I watch it, I watch the special edition because it's brilliant, but then I always go back just for that one scene to the original version. No complications.
What do we want? Complications.
I mean, I know we're probably going to waste our entire time talking about this one scene, but
It's their
like
finest moment.
The jump in IQ in about 3 seconds is unbelievable. It's hilarious.
But they're good thugs. They're kind of heavies for the Daleks, aren't they?
Again, it's an enemy I would love to see in New Who, because I would love to see them utilised properly as mercenaries for hire.
Yeah.
But you could also do the exact same thing that you do with Ice Warriors and stuff. They can't all be,
Like thick
you
as
know,
mints, yeah.
yeah, and they also can't all be just mercenaries. You know, there must be.
The Ogron poet. That
Yeah,
we've never
well,
met or something.
there's. It's a Benny novel. I think it's called Mean Streets, and it's got
Oh, yeah.
an Ogron
That's right. It's
private
like
detective.
Eye, film noir stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, wouldn't that be fun?
I would say shout out to a Twitter account I enjoy, which is called Gruntly the Ogron. It's a kind of spoof written from the point of view of an Ogron with lots of enjoyably kind of photoshopped jokes about Adric and Davros and all sorts of stuff. It's good fun. All right, one more monster. 233. It's the mutant spiders from Arachnids in the UK. Big thing about them, I thought, was did they have to kill them all at the end, and that was the
Yeah, it
merciful
was a bit
ending.
nasty.
It's
To
weird.
be honest, I mean, there's really not much to say. They are just spiders
Yeah,
that have
big
grown
ones.
big.
If ever an episode was just written for the punny title,
It is one of those stories that is really going to freak out people that don't like
oh,
spiders.
well, I used to be properly phobic, and then just gradually, I don't know, I'd read more about them without looking at any scary pictures.
I
and
suspect a lot of it is becoming a dad. Or becoming a parent.
Makes you
in
terrified
general.
of spiders.
I didn't like insects in general. I wasn't aware of arachnids, as you were no doubt going to
But then I
point
suppose
out.
times are tough, you're raising a kid, you need whatever food you can find.
That's true. No, I just found that you pass phobias on.
I've seen this happen.
Yeah, and
weird.
I know it happens.
Yeah.
So I got to the point where I can hold a spider now in my hand and
Yeah.
stuff, mainly because I wasn't going to pass
You have to be brave for
that.
them.
Even wasps, and I hate wasps and stuff. I think a lot of people that go over the phobias usually around about the time they become parents. That's
So?
just an opinion.
If you're really scared of something, get out there and reproduce.
Yeah, exactly.
This could be a really dodgy sort of therapy that we could market.
Yeah.
So it's like-
Just push people into an entire pit of
not so much
spiders.
aversion therapy as perversion therapy. That was Monster by Monster.
It's the end. But the moment has been prepared for.
9 times out of 10.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, or if you're stuck in a passenger, we can be contacted by email at randomiserpodcast@gmail.com, or follow us on Twitter at randomiserpod.
And in both cases, it's randomizer with an S, not a
I haven't been in love with fish since the 80s. I'm in love with Steve Hogarth now.
Oh,
Come on.
okay.
Anyway,
How time works is people get older as time
thank you for
goes
that
on.
explanation.
We should have that as a cloister bell, shouldn't we? Dong.
It's like clusterfuck. That could be your follow-up to Set in Stone.
Huh?
Okay.
Cloister fuck.
The
Have I mentioned I'm a published author?
not this week.
I'm too subtle.